Welcome to your sleep story. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Whatever this day was, however long it felt, however much it carried, it is behind you now, completely behind you. You made it through, and that is everything. So let's begin. Before I take you anywhere tonight, I want to count you down from 10 to 1. And as I count, I want you to allow yourself to sink just a little deeper into wherever you are right now. Feel the weight of your body. Feel what is beneath you, holding you. And with each number, just let go a little more. 10. Allow your eyes to close. Gently, completely. There is nothing you need to see right now. 9. Feel your shoulders and let them drop as far as they want to go. 8. A slow breath in through the nose. 7. And all the way out. 6. Your hands. Feel them opening. Whatever you've been holding today, you can put it down now. 5. Your jaw is soft. Your face is soft. 4. Your legs are heavy, warm. 3. You're drifting, not asleep yet, but moving that way. 2. The day is behind you, completely and entirely behind you. 1. And now, tonight's sleep story, the relaxation. Before we go anywhere, I want to stay here with you for a moment. Just here, just now, because this moment, this exact moment right now, where you are lying in the quiet, deserves a little attention, a little kindness. Take a breath in for me, from the very bottom of the belly. Good, and let it go. And as you breathe out, I want you to imagine that everything you were carrying today, every worry, every unfinished thought, every heavy thing is just leaving with that breath, just drifting away. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. A person who deserves rest, a person who deserves sleep, because you do, you really do. Whatever happened today, however hard it felt, however much it carried, you made it through. You are here, and that is enough. That is more than enough. You are safe, and you are here. Bring your awareness gently to your feet now. Just notice them and allow them to soften. The toes uncurling, the arches releasing. All the small held tension of the day simply letting go. Let that softness travel upward, through the calves, through the knees, the thighs. All of it warm, all of it heavy, all of it resting now. Your lower back, your hips. Allow yourself to feel the surface beneath you taking your weight completely, fully. You don't have to hold yourself up anymore. The earth has you. The old stone has you. The belly soft. The chest soft. The heart beating steadily as it always has, as it always will. Your shoulders dropping, your arms heavy and warm, your hands open and still, the neck long and loose, and your face, let the jaw go. Let the forehead smooth. Let the eyes be completely still behind their lids. There you are, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, completely soft, completely warm, completely at rest. You've done beautifully. Now, let me take you somewhere the cobblestones are worn smooth by 1,000 years of feet, and a single bronze bell hangs high in a stone tower, and an old man climbs the same familiar stairs he has climbed every evening of his working life, because the town below still needs to know what hour it is, and he is still the one who tells it. Come with me, the road to the town. Imagine a road in the old heart of Europe, Belgium perhaps, or the Netherlands, the Low Countries, where the medieval cloth trade built towns of extraordinary wealth and ambition across the 13th and 14th centuries, towns that still carry, in their preserved market squares, and their soaring guild halls, and their tall, elaborately decorated civic towers, the visible evidence of what that wealth, properly invested in stone and bronze, can produce for 1,000 years, or perhaps Alsace or Burgundy, or the old German imperial towns of the Rhine Valley, where a different but related culture of civic pride expressed itself in the same general architectural vocabulary. The church, the market hall, the tower rising above both, visible from miles away across the flat plain or the river valley, marking this particular place, saying to anyone approaching from any direction, here is a town, here is a community, here is a place that has organized itself and endowed itself and considers itself worth the marking. The road descends gently toward the town, through farmland that has supplied it for as long as the town itself has existed. The fields and orchards and water meadows forming the same essential relationship between settlement and surrounding land that humans worked out slowly and practically across the whole first millennium of settled European agriculture. The town walls, where they still stand, not all of them, the medieval circuit was long ago breached and absorbed into the expanding later town, but substantial sections still standing, gray-brown stone, weathered to something closer to a natural rock formation than to anything built, appear first, rising above the last bend in the road, and above the walls, above the rooftops, above the spires of the churches and the steep-pitched roofs of the guild halls. The tower, it rises from the center of the market square, which was itself the center of everything this town has ever considered important. Trade, justice, civic ceremony, the marking of time. The tower is old, not the oldest thing in this town, which distinction belongs to several foundation stones of a Roman military road, now visible under a glass panel in the square, pressed into service as part of the town's self-conscious historical display, but old in a way that exceeds easy comprehension, the kind of old that accumulates slowly into something beyond mere age, and becomes instead a kind of settled authority, a simple, physical presence that asks no particular recognition and needs none. The lower courses, rough-cut stone, date to the late 12th century, according to the town's carefully maintained historical records. The middle courses, somewhat more refined in their cutting and their mortar work, were added in the 14th century, during the height of the cloth trade's prosperity, when the town had both the ambition and the money to raise its tower higher. The belfry, the uppermost stage, where the bells hang, dates to the late 15th century, its stone carving finer still, the gargoyles at its four corners still sharp enough in their features to be individually distinguished from the street far below. Two of them facing outward toward the countryside, two inward toward the square, watching both directions simultaneously, which is, when you think about it, exactly what this whole structure has always done. A clock face, added in the 17th century, occupies the southern facade, its gilded hands catching whatever sunlight the day affords, its mechanism maintained, repaired, and in certain components entirely replaced across the centuries, still driving those hands through their daily circuit with a reliability that the town's current population takes more or less entirely for granted. You enter the square and look up at the tower. It looks back down at you in its own patient, stone way, as it has looked down on everything that has ever happened in the square. The square, the market square at evening, the day's commerce long since concluded, the stalls that filled it in the morning hours now gone, their spaces marked only by the particular patches of differently worn cobblestone, where generations of market traffic have polished the already ancient paving into smooth, irregular hollows. A few tables outside the cafe on the square's eastern side still hold their evening customers. An older couple, a small group of younger people, a lone man with a newspaper and a glass of local beer, amber gold in the low evening light. The guild hall's ornate facade, directly opposite the tower, catches the last of the day's warmth on its carved stone surface. The faces of the decorative figures set into its facade, going briefly, vividly three-dimensional in the raking light before the sun drops another degree and flattens them again. Pigeons settle along the guild hall's roofing, shifting and resettling in their loose, continuous arrangement, making the particular sound that pigeons have always made on the rooflines of European town halls, since the first town halls had rooflines. A child, perhaps 7 or 8 years old, runs across the square's open center, pursued half-heartedly by an older sibling. A brief, entirely ordinary explosion of energy and noise that crosses the square and disappears into a side street within seconds, leaving the square's evening quiet to settle back into place as smoothly as water closing over a disturbed surface. The tower stands above all of this, patient, permanent, waiting for the hour. The door at the tower's base, a low wooden door, iron-banded, its hinges green with the particular patina of bronze, exposed to weather across centuries, stands slightly ajar. This is the bell ringer's entrance, not the main door. The tower has a grander entrance on the square's side, used for civic ceremonies, for the occasional guided tour, for the summer climbing visitors who pay a modest fee and ascend to the belfry's viewing platform to look out across the flat countryside for miles in every direction. This smaller door on the tower's quieter northern face belongs specifically to the bell ringer, and has done so, more or less, for as long as the bell ringer's role has existed. You push it open, the smell finds you immediately, before your eyes have adjusted to the interior dimness. Old stone, the cool, mineral, slightly damp smell of a thick-walled medieval building that never fully warms in any season, that holds the cold of winter into spring, and the relative cool of spring well into summer, that smells always, year-round, of something older than ordinary architecture, the smell of stone that has absorbed centuries of candle smoke and human breath, and winter cold and summer dust, and the particular residue of whatever the centuries leave behind in the walls of a structure this old and this continuously occupied. Old rope, the thick woven rope that connects the bell. Ringers pull cord in the lower room to the bell's clapper mechanism, high in the belfry. Hemp, mostly, replaced periodically, but always with the same material, always maintaining the same essential connection between the hand that pulls and the tongue that strikes. A connection maintained in this same tower for over 5 centuries, and very faintly, beeswax from the candle that burns, small and steady, on the shelf beside the door, lighting the first steps of the narrow stone stair that curves upward into the tower's interior darkness. You look up the stair. A sound from above descends toward you. Slow footsteps, measured, unhurried. The bell ringer is coming down. Piter. He is 73 years old. His name is Piter. He has rung the bells of this tower for 47 years, since he was a young man of 26, who had just returned to this town after several years working elsewhere, and who happened, almost entirely by accident, to be present at the small, largely unremarked civic ceremony at which his predecessor, a man named Willem, announced his intention to retire after 41 years of ringing. Piter did not apply for the role in any formal sense. He simply mentioned to the alderman who was present and visibly concerned about the succession problem this announcement created, that he knew the mechanism. His own father, a friend of Willem's, had occasionally shown it to him as a boy, and that he would be willing to learn properly if Willem was willing to teach him. Willem was. He spent the better part of a year passing on everything he knew, walking Piter through every stage of the mechanism's operation, every small peculiarity of these particular bells' character, every adjustment to timing and technique that 4 decades of intimate familiarity had taught him, and that no written instruction manual could fully convey. Piter has been ringing the bells ever since. He comes now slowly down the narrow stair, emerging from the dim interior into the small antechamber at the tower's base, carrying in one hand a small cloth, and in the other a tin of the particular metal polish he uses twice yearly on the mechanism's brass fittings. An evening's maintenance work completed in the upper room before his scheduled 9 o'clock ringing. The same careful, unglamorous upkeep he has given this mechanism across 47 years. He sees you and nods, a small, entirely unsurprised nod. People come to the tower, sometimes, simply to look and to stand in its presence. Pieter has never found this remarkable. He finds it, if anything, entirely appropriate. The bells. Let me tell you about the bells themselves, because they deserve your full attention before they ring. There are 3 of them, hung in the belfry above. The largest, the bourdon in French, the drone, because its great low tone underpins everything else, weighs nearly 4,000 kilograms, cast in the 15th century in a foundry somewhere in the Rhine Valley, transported to this town at enormous expense and effort, hauled up into the belfry by a combination of mechanical genius and brute, collective human labor that the town's records describe in some detail, and with obvious, lingering civic pride. Its tone, when it rings, is a deep E-flat, a frequency so low that as much as it is heard, it is felt in the chest, in the bones, in the stones of every building within several hundred meters of the square. The whole town briefly, gently, resonating with this one enormous bronze voice. The middle bell, cast some decades later, rings a G, a 5th above the bourdon, the 2 notes producing together that particular, ancient, deeply satisfying combination of low and mid tones that the ears of medieval town planners and their successors have found, across centuries of experience, to carry best across open streets and market squares, and the general ambient noise of an inhabited town. The smallest bell, added in the 17th century, rings a B-flat, completing a minor chord, 3 notes that, sounding together in their proper relationship, produce the specific, slightly melancholic, deeply resonant sound that this town's bells are known for across the whole region. Pieter has been hearing this chord and producing it for 47 years. He cannot quite hear it now, as other people hear it. The hearing loss that comes with decades of close proximity to ringing bronze has made his perception of the bell's sound somewhat different from what a person with full hearing would receive. The very highest frequencies gone, the lower ones perhaps even more fully felt in the body than before. He does not consider this a serious loss. He has heard the bells thousands of times across his working life. He carries them in him, in some sense, regardless of what his ears can currently register. The staircase inside the tower is narrow, deliberately so, not an oversight or a limitation of medieval engineering, but a deliberate choice. The staircase winding tightly around the tower's interior in a clockwise spiral. A design that, in the military reasoning of the era that built it, gave any defending force on the stairs a significant advantage over any attacker climbing toward them. The defender's sword arms free on the wider outer side of the spiral. the attacker's sword arms cramped against the central column. This consideration has not been relevant to the actual use of this staircase for several centuries, but the staircase remains narrow and winding, and faintly lit by small arrow-slit windows set into the outer wall at irregular intervals, each one letting in a thin blade of light that illuminates, briefly, a few worn steps before the spiral carries you around and past them. Pieter climbs these stairs several times each day, more often than the simple ringing schedule strictly requires. Since the maintenance work, the mechanism checks, the occasional repairs or adjustments that an instrument this old and this constantly used inevitably requires, brings him up and down this familiar stair far more frequently than any simple accounting of his official duties would suggest. He climbs them slowly now, not because his body is incapable of faster movement, though his knees, at 73, do register the considerable number of these particular stairs that 47 years of daily use have required them to manage. He climbs them slowly because this is how he has always climbed them. Slowly, deliberately, each step familiar enough that no particular attention is required, the mind free to drift, to settle, to find whatever quietness the 47 years of climbing these same stone stairs have trained it to find here, halfway between the noisy square below and the resonant bells above. This staircase, Pieter has often thought, is the best thinking place he has ever known. The mechanism in the room just below the belfry itself, accessed through a low wooden door that Pieter must duck beneath. Not because the door was built for shorter people, though perhaps they were, but because centuries of settling and subsidence have shifted the frame slightly. The mechanism lives. It occupies the center of a modest stone room whose walls are thick with the accumulated residue of centuries, oil and metal dust and candle smoke, and the particular fine bronze powder that accumulates invisibly wherever a bronze bell swings and strikes across many hundreds of years. The mechanism itself is a combination of the very old and the considerably less old. The great wheel, the main gear that drives the clock face below, dates, in its essential form, to the 17th century, when the clock face was first installed, though several of its individual components have been replaced across the centuries since. The oldest surviving original parts, visible by their different patina, darker and smoother than the comparatively newer brass of later editions. The escapement, the critical component that controls the clock's steady, measured release of energy, converting the continuous pull of gravity on the hanging weights into the precise, regular interval of the seconds, was replaced entirely in the 19th century. Its predecessor's centuries of service finally exhausted. The new mechanism, fitted by a clockmaker from the nearest city who spent 3 weeks in this very room, learning the old mechanism's particular quirks before removing it and installing its replacement, Pieter knows every gear, every arbor, every pivot in this mechanism as intimately as Aino knows his Finnish saunas kiuas, as intimately as Wayan knows each mature culm in his Balinese bamboo grove. He serviced it this evening, as he does on the first evening of every month, cleaning, checking for any unusual wear, applying a precise quantity of the specific lubricating oil that this mechanism requires. No more and no less than his predecessor, Willem, once taught him to apply across the same careful sequence of components. He has missed this monthly service in 47 years, exactly twice. Once when his wife was giving birth, and once when he himself was briefly hospitalized following a minor accident. Otherwise, without fail, 47 years, the town below, from the narrow arrow-slit windows as Pieter climbs, the town reveals itself in brief, framed glimpses. A section of the market square, a rooftop, a chimney, the far edge of the guild hall's facade. The town this tower watches over is not large, perhaps 15,000 people by current count, a number that has fluctuated considerably across the centuries, larger during the height of the medieval cloth trade, considerably smaller during the various famines and plagues and wars that punctuated the following centuries, gradually recovering across the modern era to something close to its historical peak. Though the character of those 15,000 has changed, obviously, beyond any simple comparison with the population that once paid, through their labor and their taxes, for the very bells this tower houses. Pieter knows this town the way a person knows a place they have lived in all their life, which is to say completely, specifically, intimately, but also somewhat invisibly. The familiarity so thorough that conscious noticing happens mainly at the margins, when something changes, rather than as a continuous, active engagement with what remains constant. He knows which houses have been standing since before his grandfather's time. He knows which rooftops he can see from the belfry viewing platform, and which, though they feel close, are hidden by the angle of a neighboring building. He knows, without needing to calculate it, where the sound of his bells reaches and where it begins to fade. The general shape of the acoustic territory that this particular tower claims across this particular flat, river-crossed landscape. He knows this town the way this tower knows it, from above, continuously, with a patience that has nothing, really, to do with any single day. What the bells do, let me tell you more specifically, what the bells of a medieval civic tower actually do for the people who live within their hearing. They mark time, obviously, but this simple description fails to capture what marking time, reliably and publicly, actually meant for the communities that built and maintained these towers in an era before personal timekeeping was either possible or affordable for most people, before pocket watches, before wristwatches, before the ubiquitous small glowing rectangles that now tell most people the time in any given moment. The tower bell was the only reliable public timekeeper most ordinary town dwellers ever had access to. The bells regulated the working day. They told the guilds when to open their workshops and when to close them. They told the markets when trading was permitted and when it was not. They summoned the civic authorities to their deliberations and dismissed them afterward. They announced births in some traditions and marked deaths, and called congregations to worship, and warned of approaching danger. They were, in the fullest sense, the town's voice, its one reliable, audible mechanism for communicating basic, essential information simultaneously to everyone within hearing, regardless of whether they were literate, regardless of whether they were paying attention, regardless of whether they were doing something entirely different in a building 3 streets from the square, with no view of any clock face at all. The bells simply rang, and the town understood. This function has been, obviously, largely superseded. Pieter's 9 o'clock ringing tonight will be heard by many people who will simply register it as pleasant background sound without any particular functional use for the information it carries. But the ringing continues because the town decided, across every generation that has had the opportunity to decide otherwise, to continue it, because there is something in the sound itself, something in the physical, embodied, felt experience of a large bronze bell's tone moving through your chest, and the walls of your house and the stones of the street beneath your feet simultaneously, that a notification on a glowing screen does not replicate and cannot, because the bells are this town's voice, and the town still wants to hear itself speak. The belfry, the room at the top, open on all 4 sides to the outside air. The 4 arched openings, fitted with louvered wooden shutters, angled to project the sound downward and outward, while keeping the worst of the rain and the pigeons somewhat at bay. Though the pigeons, in their patient, persistent way, have found various routes past the louvers anyway, and their accumulated presence in the belfry's upper corners represents an ongoing maintenance concern that Pieter manages with the same patient, resigned pragmatism. He brings to most of the towers other perpetual small challenges. The 3 bells hang in their timber frame, silent now, their bronze surfaces green-black with age, each one enormous when you are this close to it, far larger than they seem from the street below, where they appear, if they appear at all, as small dark shapes within the belfry's shadowed openings. The largest, the Bourdon, is taller than Pieter himself. He stands beside it, sometimes simply to be in its presence. Its great curved mass of ancient bronze, the Latin inscription cast into its surface, still legible where the patina has not obscured it. A dedication to some medieval patron whose name has been long separated from any other surviving record, whose generosity now persists only in this one enormous, perpetually voiced form. He has touched this bell so many times across 47 years that he knows its surface by feel, knows the exact location of the small irregularity in its casting near the lower rim, knows the particular quality of warmth the bronze holds on a sunny afternoon, the particular cold it gives off on a winter evening, the barely perceptible vibration that hums within it even before the clapper swings. The bell is not simply an instrument to Pieter. It is, in some sense, he would struggle to articulate precisely, a companion, patient, old, entirely reliable. The history of the bells. Let me tell you something about where these bells came from, because the making of a medieval bell was itself one of the most demanding and most consequential craft undertakings in all of pre-industrial European material culture. A bell of the Bourdons size required first the construction of an enormous mold, a precise, carefully shaped form, usually built in a pit dug for the purpose, around which the molten bronze would be cast, and within which it would cool slowly over days. The bronze itself, an alloy of copper and tin in precise proportions, the exact ratio carefully maintained by the foundry masters, whose generations of accumulated skill were entirely invested in this one technically demanding material, would be melted in a large furnace, brought to the specific temperature necessary for successful casting, and then poured in a single continuous operation into the prepared mold. A failed casting caused by an incorrect temperature, an improperly prepared mold, an unexpected interruption of the pour, any one of dozens of potential sources of catastrophic failure, meant the entire enormous investment of materials, labor, and time was lost. The great Bourdon bell of this tower was apparently cast successfully on its first attempt, according to the town records that survive from the relevant period. This was not always the case with large bells elsewhere. The historical record contains numerous accounts of failed castings requiring the entire process to be started over, sometimes multiple times, before a successful bell emerged from the cooling mold. When the casting succeeded, the mold was carefully broken away, the bell's surface cleaned and inspected, and the bell then subjected to the first critical test of its tuning. Struck with a wooden mallet, its tone carefully evaluated by the foundry master, and often by the commissioning town's own designated representatives, who had traveled, sometimes considerable distances, specifically to be present for this moment. The Bourdon's tone, when first struck in whatever Rhine Valley foundry cast it, must have rung true, because it was accepted, transported across what must have been a genuinely formidable logistical challenge, and eventually raised by considerable collective effort into this very belfry, where it has remained for 5.5 centuries. Pieter puts his hand lightly on the Bourdon's cool bronze surface. He stands for a moment in its presence, as he has stood in its presence on many thousands of previous evenings. The ropes, bell-ringing mechanism in this particular tower, uses a combination of mechanical actuation for the clockwork ringing that marks the hours automatically, and a manual rope ringing system that Pieter himself operates for special occasions, for the particular sequences of ringing that mark specific civic events, and for the simple reason that occasional manual ringing keeps the whole system limber and allows Pieter to monitor its condition in a way that purely mechanical operation would not. The ropes hang in the lower room, thick and rough-textured, their ends worn soft by 47 years of Pieter's own hands and the hands of everyone who came before him. Rope ringing a large bell is not a casual or simple undertaking. The burden, weighing nearly 4,000 kilograms, develops once set in motion, a momentum that cannot be controlled by simple brute force. The bell ringer must work with that momentum, not against it, timing each pull to coincide with the bell's own natural arc, adding energy at exactly the right moment, restraining it at exactly the right moment. The whole operation, a continuous conversation between the ringer's own trained body and the bell's enormous, patient, swinging mass. Pieter learned this conversation from Willem over many months of patient practice, gradually internalizing the precise timing, the particular quality of physical feedback that comes through the rope, the specific moments when the bell is asking for more pull, and when it is telling you unmistakably to ease off. He has had this same conversation with these same bells. On every occasion, he has rung them manually across 47 years. He no longer needs to think about it consciously. His hands simply know. The hour approaches. Pieter checks his own watch, a habit of professional caution rather than any genuine doubt. He has never, in 47 years, missed a ringing because he misjudged the time, and the tower's own clock mechanism would warn him in any case through the preliminary whirring and clicking that precedes any automatic striking. 9:15, he settles into the small wooden chair beside the rope room's single window, looking out through glass that has been in this frame for generations, at the town below, the market square in the day's last light, the cafe tables still occupied, though the evening has cooled enough that the most sensitive customers have moved inside, the guild hall's facade beginning to disappear into the general darkening, its carved faces retreating from the visibility the day's light gave them. The pigeons, most of them settled now, a few still making their final adjustments along the guild hall's roofline. He has looked at this exact view, through this exact window, on countless similar evenings, across nearly 5 decades. He never tires of it. The square, seen from this particular height, at this particular evening hour, in this particular season's particular light, seems to him, on many evenings, not all, not dramatically, but often, one of the genuinely most beautiful things he has ever been in the habit of looking at. He has never said this to anyone. He is not entirely certain why not. Perhaps because it seems, if articulated, too grand a claim for something so ordinary, a market square at evening, seen from a tower window, in a modest provincial town that is not famous for anything in particular. Perhaps because, by the time the thought occurs to him, he is already thinking about the ringing itself, and thoughts about beauty give way, as they generally do, to thoughts about the practical business of the next few minutes. What the tower, TACHES, Pieter has thought, across 47 years of climbing these stairs, and tending this mechanism, and ringing these bells, about what this particular work has taught him. The tower teaches patience, first, in the most specific possible way. Not a general philosophical patience, but the particular, practiced, technical patience of working with a mechanism whose rhythms are entirely its own, that cannot be hurried without damage, that must simply be attended to on its own terms if it is to function correctly. You cannot ring a large bell faster than its natural arc allows. You cannot rush the escapement. You cannot hurry the great wheel's steady, measured turn. The mechanism proceeds at the pace the mechanism proceeds at. Your job is to understand that pace, to work within it, and to ensure it continues accurately and without interruption. 47 years of this particular relationship have, Pieter believes, taught him something about most other things too. A generally reduced tendency toward impatience, a greater comfort with processes that simply take the time they take, a recognition that many of the most important and most reliable things in any life operate according to their own internal rhythms and do not benefit from being pushed. The tower also teaches something about continuity, about being one element in a chain that extends, in this case, far further back and far further forward than any single human life. The bells were here before Pieter. They will be here after him. His role in this chain is not to make the bells mean something new, not to transform them or improve them beyond whatever genuine maintenance improvements have occasionally been genuinely warranted, but simply to carry them carefully from the hands that preceded him into the hands that will follow, to be, for however long his own working life lasts, the person this particular town has trusted to ring these particular bells. He has found, in this role's essential simplicity, something that has always suited him better than he could easily explain. Not a grand ambition, not a particularly remarkable calling, simply this: showing up reliably at the appointed hour, climbing the same familiar stairs, and doing, with full attention and genuine care, the same patient thing his predecessors did before him. The ringing, the clock mechanism, begins its preliminary sequence. A barely audible internal shift in the mechanism's operation. A deepening of the subtle background hum that Pieter has learned to hear even through the stone walls. The particular change in sound that tells him, as reliably as any external signal, that the 9 o'clock striking is approximately 60 seconds away. He rises from his chair. He takes his place at the rope. His hands find the familiar, worn hemp, the texture of it known to his palms down to the individual fibers, exactly as the handle of Merwin's spinning wheel is known to her hands, exactly as the worn wooden ladle of Aino's sauna bucket is known to his. The mechanism strikes. 1. The first automated stroke of the bourdon. The clapper, swung by the clockwork's patient accumulation of energy against the great bronze bell's interior. The sound fills the belfry and descends simultaneously into the stone of the walls, and the rope in his hands, and the floor beneath his feet. 2. Lower than you expect, even knowing it is coming, lower than any ordinary sound, a frequency that is more vibration than note, that moves through solid material as readily as through air. 3. Pieter's hands on the rope, steady, attentive. The manual system standing ready to take over whenever the clockwork's automated sequence completes, and he himself will add the particular sequences of manual ringing that this evening's hour calls for. 4. The town below is hearing this. The cafe customers, the couple still at their table, the child who ran across the square an hour ago and is now presumably bathed and headed toward bed, the shopkeeper still tidying his window display, the old woman at her upper floor apartment window looking out at the square as she does most evenings at exactly this hour, all of them hearing this same sound. 5. The walls of the guild hall, the cobblestones, the glass in the shop windows, the water in the fountain at the square's eastern corner, all of it vibrating very faintly with this same low note. 6. The countryside beyond the town walls, the farms and the water meadows and the road you came in on. The sound carries across flat land for miles, and somewhere out there, a farmer checking on late cattle, a cyclist on the evening road, hears this same tone arrive from the direction of the town, knowing without needing to think about it what it means. 7. Pieter's hands, steady on the rope, the mechanism doing its patient work, the bell's ancient bronze speaking its low, certain note into the evening air. 8. One more. 9. The last stroke settles into the air, hangs there for a moment, the great bourdon's particular note sustaining itself in the belfry's resonant stone chamber before finally, slowly fading, not disappearing all at once, but diminishing gradually, the way all things of genuine substance diminish, slowly and with dignity over time. Silence. The town below has been told what hour it is. 9 o'clock. The quiet after, the ringing, always produces its own particular quality of after silence. This is one of the things Pieter values most about his work, though he has never articulated it precisely. The silence that follows a large bell's ringing is not simply the absence of the sound that preceded it. It is a different quality of silence than the silence that came before, richer, somehow more aware of itself. The way a room feels different, more present. After a piece of music has finished playing within it, than it did before the music began. He stands for a moment in this after silence, his hands still resting on the rope, listening to the silence the bells have left behind them. The town below, after 9 such strokes, has returned to its own ordinary evening sounds. The cafe conversation, the distant traffic, the pigeons settling, the ordinary murmur of 15,000 people going about their evenings in the ordinary ways. People have always gone about their evenings, but for just a moment, Pieter's trained ear can still detect, very faintly, the last traces of the Borden's tone in the stone walls around him. A barely perceptible resonance, less a sound than a physical quality, the building itself still, infinitesimally, vibrating with what has just passed through it. He listens to it until it is finally completely gone. The descent. He begins the descent. The same narrow staircase, the same spiral, the same thin blades of evening light through the same arrow-slit windows, though the light through them now carries the deeper blue of full dusk rather than the warmer gold it held when he climbed. Step by step, the town below him, completing its own gradual evening settling. The cafe likely to be clearing soon, the last few market stalls packed away and gone, the streets beginning their nightly transition from busy to quiet. Pieter does not hurry on the stairs. He has never hurried on the stairs. The stairs are, as he has always understood them, part of the work, not merely the means of reaching the bells, but themselves a component of the whole experience of this particular occupation. The 37 steps up, representing one kind of preparation. The 37 steps down, representing a different kind of settling. A gradual return from the tower's particular atmosphere to the ordinary ground-level world below. He reaches the bottom. He steps through the low, iron-banded door, back into the narrow lane on the tower's north side. The air outside is noticeably cooler now than when he entered, the evening having continued its autumnal descent toward the night's real chill. The sky overhead a deep, clear blue-black. The first stars becoming properly visible now that the day's last ambient light has finally completely faded. He stands for a moment outside the tower's door. He looks up at the belfry from below. The bells, invisible now in the shadowed opening, rest in their silence, waiting for tomorrow's hours. The walk home, Pieter's own house, stands 5 minutes' walk from the tower, in one of the streets behind the Guildhall. An ordinary, narrow townhouse, not old by the tower's standards, but old enough, perhaps 300 years, to have its own settled, accumulated character. He has lived in it for 42 years, since he and his wife, Lisbeth, bought it together early in their marriage, at a time when its modest price reflected the general unfashionableness of these older town center streets, which subsequent decades have entirely reversed. The very oldness and narrowness that made such houses cheap in Pieter's youth having become, in the changed aesthetic sensibilities of the intervening decades, precisely what makes them desirable. Lisbeth is at home. She will have heard the 9 o'clock ringing from their kitchen window, as she has heard it from one vantage point or another in their shared daily life across 47 years of Pieter's tenure in the tower. First, from the windows of whatever apartment they were living in before they bought the house, then from the house itself, then across the years since their children have grown and left, from the kitchen specifically, where she has developed the habit of pausing, whatever she happens to be doing, when she hears the bells begin, and simply listening until they finish. She says, when asked about this habit, that it is her way of knowing he is up there, doing what he does. He has always found this, in his own reserved way, enormously comforting. He lets himself in at his own door. The smell of the house cooking, the particular accumulated warmth of a home where two people have lived in close, comfortable proximity across many decades, receives him. Lisbeth looks up from the kitchen table, a small nod, the same small, satisfied nod that greets his return after every ringing, every evening, every year. All is well. The bells have rung. He is home. The tower 18 night. After Pieter has gone, after the cafe tables have finally been cleared, and the chairs stacked, and the lights along the square's perimeter have come on, amber and steady, against the full darkness, after the guild hall has gone entirely dark, except for the small security light above its main entrance, after the square's last pedestrians have completed their crossings and disappeared into the surrounding streets, the tower stands as it has stood on every night of every year of its 700-year history. The bells above it, silent now, rest in their timber frame, their bronze surfaces cooling slowly in the night air that moves through the belfry's louvered openings, the pigeons tucked into their accustomed corners, the whole upper chamber settling into its own particular, resonant, nighttime stillness. The clock mechanism below continues its steady, measured work, the escapement ticking, the great wheel turning, the hands on the southern face moving their slow, certain circuit, marking time for a square that is now largely empty of anyone to observe them, but marking it nonetheless, exactly as they have marked it through countless similar empty nights across 300-odd years of the clock's own existence. The stone, cooler now, holds its own deep, accumulated warmth from somewhere within its enormous thickness. The medieval core, centuries before any thermometer was available to measure it, somehow understanding that a wall this thick in this climate needs to absorb the summer's warmth for release in winter, needs to absorb the winter's cold for release in summer. The whole building functioning without any conscious design intent as a kind of enormous thermal regulator for the space it encloses. The town below settles further into its own night. You are drifting. You are still in the tower, in a sense, or somewhere very near it. The last vibration of the 9 o'clock ringing still, somehow, present in the stone beneath your hand, though it has been several minutes now since the final stroke faded. Pieter has descended and gone home. The bells rest in their silence. The clock continues its patient, measured ticking, far below. All of it here, all of it holding you. Your breathing has slowed to match the clock mechanism's own steady, measured rhythm, in and out, and in again, exactly as regular, exactly as reliable, not requiring any particular thought or effort, simply continuing, as breathing has always continued, as the clock has always continued, as the bells have rung and will ring again. On and on, through all the hours of all the nights that have ever passed, and ever will pass over this one particular stone tower, in this one particular town. This is what a bell tower offers, if you allow yourself to receive it, even only in imagination, even only for this one quiet hour before your own sleep arrives. The deep, unhurried reassurance of something that has been marking time, reliably and without complaint, for longer than any living person can fully imagine. The particular peace of knowing that some things, properly made and properly tended, simply continue through centuries of change, through the rise and fall of fashions and fortunes and whole political orders, through every kind of ordinary daily disruption that life in any time and any place inevitably involves. You do not need to do anything with the time tonight. You can simply rest in it, the way the tower rests, patient, permanent, holding its silent bells above a sleeping town, trusting completely that when morning comes, the hour will be what it is, and it will ring. The last things, the tower stands in the full dark, its stone holding its accumulated centuries of warmth and cold and history, and the residue of 5.5 centuries of bronze voices. The bells rest above, silent, cooling, waiting for tomorrow's first hour. The clock mechanism turns its steady, patient circuit, ticking through the night exactly as it has ticked through every night of its 300-year existence. Pieter is home, Lisbeth's kitchen light still warm through the window of their old narrow house, 5 minutes walk from the square. The mechanism's brass fittings, polished this evening, glow softly in the mechanism room's darkness, their maintenance complete for another month. The rope hangs still in the lower room, its hemp fibers holding in their texture the residue of 47 years of hands, and the considerably longer residue of all the hands before them. The market square is empty, its cobblestones bearing nothing now but the amber light of the perimeter lamps and the shadows they cast. The guild hall's carved faces rest in darkness, their features dissolved into the general shadow of a building that has no further need tonight of anyone's particular attention. The tower stands in the dark, patient stone, permanent. The bells rest in their frame, cooling slowly in the night air, silent now, waiting for tomorrow's first hour. The clock mechanism turns, tick and tick and tick, steady, measured, reliable. Pieter is home, the ringing done for today. Lisbeth's light is on in the kitchen, 47 years of returns. the same small nod. All is well. The rope hangs still in the lower room. 47 years of hands, and all the hands before them. The square is empty. The cobblestones hold the amber lamplight. The guild hall's faces rest in shadow. The pigeons are settled in their corners. The whole town is quieting. House by house, light by light, you are held tonight too, by this same ancient, patient marking of time, by 7 centuries of stone and bronze and rope and careful human attention, by the knowledge that something steady and reliable has been standing watch over this town since long before any person currently living was born. You do not need to do anything with the time tonight. You only need to rest in it. The clock will keep its circuit. The bells will ring at their appointed hour. The tower will stand as it has always stood, as it will always stand. You are safe. You are warm. You are held in the tower's long, patient shadow, in the quiet, medieval town, in the deep, settled dark of an ordinary night. The clock will keep its tick. The bells will keep their silence until morning asks them to speak again. And you can simply rest. Good night, dear friend. Sleep well. Sleep deeply. Good night, and